Hello and welcome back. My name is India and I happen to read a lot. And we are back in the normal location of my very lovely living room. I actually redid the shelves. So the shelves, I think for the first time in many videos, actually look neat and not falling all over the place with 7,000 books everywhere. Because I did do a big unhaul recently. Today we are going to be talking about all the books that I read in August. I've come back from my really nice sunny summer holiday. Back to what I expect from the Burr months, which is it's just fucking raining and it's grey out there. And I know a lot of people aren't happy that people wished for colder, rainier days. Right now I'm actually in my favourite environment, which is cosy at home with the rain pouring and the clouds. But yes, today we're going to talk about all the books that I read for August. A little reminder for those of you who may not have watched my August TBR or seen any of my vlogs and you're new here or just literally forgot. The focus for August was romance. Every August I try to do a different kind of challenge. I've done 30 volumes in 30 days. I tried to read 30 books in 30 days and I didn't want to give myself a set thing for a day, so I just looked at kind of the genre that I was neglecting the most, and that was romance. August had a very strong romance feel. Not all of these books that I read were romance books, but obviously that was the main focus, and we are just going to do what we normally do, go from the bottom to the top, from the lowest rated to the highest rated, and we are going to talk about them. So yeah. So first up on the list is Murder at the Black Cat Cafe by Seishi Yokomizo. This is actually two books in one. They're both novellas that they have brought forward. So Murder at the Black Cat Cafe and Why Did the Well Wheel Creak. This is by Seishi Yokomizo. This is, I believe, the 7th book that Pushkin have translated into English from Seishi Yokomizo's work. He's written over 50 books. I'm not sure whether all of them follow the same detective, but he's written over 50 crime books. And they are slowly, I think it's like 1 a year, maybe 2 a year, bringing out English translations. So I've read all of them up to this point. I read The 100 Murders before I was a bookseller, and then since then I've read loads of them. So I know what I'm kind of getting myself into. I love Detective Kosuke Kindaichi a lot. One of my favourite literary detectives. I think he's so interesting and it's something fresh and new and exciting. So I am very well versed in the Yokomizo crime verse. For me, Seishi Yokomizo has he has hits and he has misses, is what I'm trying to say. And we've had recently, in the ones that they've been bringing out recently, a lot of them have been hits. This one for me, because I found out when I just went to read it that this isn't the entire book, it's actually probably, I would say, 3/4 of this is the entire book, and then the other quarter is a short story, novella-ish thing. I did go into it expecting a bit more. It's not that I didn't enjoy this. I gave this 3 stars. I thought it was fine. I thought it was good at what it was doing. I just wanted a bit more depth. I do appreciate the nature of the story probably required a shorter word count, but for myself, I just prefer longer stories, so I felt that there was a little bit of depth missing in this. But it's good. Everything he writes is good. It's just a solid 3-star book. Then I read Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura. This is a contemporary rom-com with a little bit of Indiana Jones archaeological vibe. It follows a professor at a uni, this character here whose name I've now forgotten, Corey, who gets invited to take part in an expedition in Mexico that could be leading her to evidence of an ancestor of hers. So she says yes, goes on this dig, and sees her rival in archaeology, Ford. That's his name. Yes, Ford, and it's just about them obviously falling in love, searching for her potential ancestor, things like that. First, I was really, really enjoying it. I loved their tension. I loved the setting. I loved the side characters. I thought it was really fun. I think she's really funny. Once they break that tension, and this is with loads of romance books, like you've got to really nail it. Once that first kiss happens or that first sex scene happens, you've really got to make us interested. Because for me, I love the build-up of things. I love the will they, won't they element of romances. And when you kind of break that bubble and when you're like, okay, well, they've hooked up, what's next? That follow-up has to be interesting. And unfortunately for me, it wasn't. So I really liked the beginning. Like, I thought it could potentially be a 5-star read. And then halfway through, I was like, something's missing. It feels like all the tension and all the chemistry they had kind of not fizzled out, but I was just I didn't care anymore. I really liked the archaeological storyline. And again, in the second half, it was like once that bubble broke between the two obviously the two leads, We kind of forgot about the archaeological dig storyline, which was a bit disappointing because I really enjoyed that alongside their romance. So yeah, I was really enjoying it to about halfway through. Then we have The Peepshow by Kate Summerscale. This is a true crime book about the murders at 10 Rillington Place. And as I was going like, guys, it's all about romance. It's all about falling in love with a partner for life. It's all about this. It's all about, you know, that man for you forever. And then I'm like, here's a list of all the disgusting and awful and heinous things one man did to a bunch of women. So it was a really like juxtaposition of a reading experience, because on one hand I was reading books about men and women falling in love and men cherishing women, and on the other hand I was on the bus and reading about the disgusting ways that men treat women. A whiplash, if you will. In regards to this book, I had personally never heard about this case myself, so it was a very interesting reading experience in regards to learning about this part of British history. I would say that Kate Summerscale's writing is not my favourite. I found it to be very slow paced, a little bit unengaging at times. It felt like we were just listing off facts. And if it wasn't that I wanted to figure out every element of this book, the case and what happened to the murderer, I probably would have put it down, because it's very, very triggering content in this. So not only is it triggering, but then you also have someone saying it and like telling it in a way that's not, it's a bit of a slog to get through. So it was a bit of a mixture, and I gave it 3 stars ultimately because I thought that the case was interesting and I did want to know more about it, but I didn't love the writing style. Then continuing on, we have, I for some reason thought the cover was on this. We had Picture Perfect by Tessa Bailey. This is the 4th book in her sports romance series, the Big Shot series, which I say sports, it's just a hockey romance. Like, it feels weird that we started with golf because all the other male love interests have been hockey players. I do know that her 5th book in the series follows a baseball player. So I'm glad that we're switching things up. I read this. I am reaching a point with Tessa Bailey a little bit, so I gave this 3.5 stars. I'm reaching a point with her. I feel like we're not spending enough time with these characters. I felt this way with Dream Girl Drama, which I read earlier this year. It was actually the first book that I read for 2025. And I'm feeling about this again with Picture Perfect. I found with Dream Girl Drama that I found the female character to be interesting, but kind of annoying. And I felt that the second book, The Au Pair Affair, where we first meet these 2 characters, does a lot of the heavy lifting in the novel. That if you read Dream Girl Drama, you kind of feel like you're missing something. So I was happy to not have that experience in Picture Perfect. You do meet these 2 properly, and their dynamic is set up in Dream Girl Drama, but you don't have to have read that to feel like it's doing any heavy lifting for this couple. I really liked Skylar. I thought Skylar was a really interesting female character. I liked her dynamic. I liked her conversation with the parents and her own personal self-esteem issues and the pressure that she puts on herself. I thought that was written so incredibly well. We get to Robbie. I forgot his name. We get to Robbie, and then it's like we've forgotten how to write a character a little bit. And I love Tessa Bailey, and you guys know Fangirl Down, the first book in the series, is one of my all-time favourite romance books. I just felt that the writing of him was really disappointing. I liked them as a couple. I liked their chemistry. I think all the scenes they had together was really nice. I didn't love the fact that he's this playboy. He's got this whole playboy facade that has been around since book 2. She calls him out on it one time when they just meet, and he goes, yeah, I've been really letting down my granddad. I'm stopping. I'm over it now. I'm cured. And I'm like, what? Who agreed this? Like, I'm really surprised that somebody who has spent years and years living this playboy lifestyle with his best mate is then suddenly, after one good-looking woman, well, also, he's probably surrounded by loads of good-looking women, one woman who I guess he respects this time around, tells him off. He's like, yeah. What I would have preferred is to keep, because this book, which I've also not explained, is about Robbie and Skylar, who pair up to be a pretend couple at Skylar's family competition thing that they do every year. I would have loved to have kept that, because I love that. We all know I love fake dating. But I would have rather have had his realization of how bad his behaviour is to have been learnt over the course of this, like, championship thing that her family does. Maybe speaking to her mum, her dad, learning more about her, connecting with her. It just felt very fast-paced and very underwritten. For one time, a character calls you out and you go, yeah, why not? This hot girl who I respect more than others says that I'm awful. I believe her, and that's not what my granddad would want. I just felt like that could have been written so much better, and that's for me why it was only 3.5 stars, because I was like, surely we can do better. And I'm now worried a little bit that Tessa Bailey, this is the second book that she's brought out this year. I think she's aiming for 2 a year. I'm just really worried we're not getting enough, like, actual good quality character time. We're not really sitting down with these characters and really learning, especially with Robbie. What makes them tick? How are they gonna grow? I think it's just like sex scene after sex scene after sex scene, a couple of reveals about each other's backstory, and that's it. And I'm like, I need more. I just need more. I just really didn't feel like we spent enough time with these characters as people. They kind of felt that they were basically, we're just written to be together at the end, rather than we're written as individuals who are learned something over the course of this book and falling in love with the process. And then the final one for our 3.5 stars, we have The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Core. This was written, this I read for my sci-fi fantasy book group. This is a horror fantasy that is really fucking gory. Like, there's so much body horror and gore in this book for such a tiny, tiny page count. It's got kind of a siren mermaid main character, a plague doctor. I can't really explain to you what happens. You do really need to go into this knowing nothing. Overall, I enjoyed it. I loved the writing style. I found everything to be a little bit confusing, and I did wish we'd kind of expanded this a bit more, and the ending was a bit weird, but I still was enthralled and intrigued by this. Then we have Yona of the Dawn. Now, I chose Yona of the Dawn because I chose my romance books through this like magical spinner, this wheel, if you will. I put Yona of the Dawn there because I love the romance, the blossoming romance that's very obviously going to be endgame between Yona and Hack. And we didn't get much Yona and Hack in this volume, but I did really enjoy this. Yona of the Dawn, for those of you who don't know, follows Yona, whose cousin usurps her father's throne, kills her father in the process, and she has to run away and fight for her kingdom. And it's really good. It's following this spoiled, kind of bratty princess who actually, through the trauma that she experiences, reaches out and connects with her kingdom, connects with her people, connects with her community. There's also some fun, fantastical elements. Everyone seems to be in love with her, which I love. I love a reverse harem, I think, is when like there's a bunch of men in love with one woman. Love that, actually. I think that's great. I'm a fan. And yeah, so I really like the romance between her and her like childhood friend / bodyguard. But we didn't get much of that in this one, but we did get some amazing character development from her, which is always a bonus if you want, like, textbook, bratty, spoiled, she's not really bratty, but she's a spoiled princess who knows nothing of the world and then becomes the leader that she was born to be. I would read Yona of the Dawn. This is volume 7, and there's, like, definitely at least 40 volumes out there. I think the author has said it's very good. It's going to be ending soonish, so I think she's ending it around the 50 volume mark. And I'm only on volume 7, so we've got a long way to go. Now we can talk about romance books that I am loving. And I did realise I have to start branching out with my romance authors. All I was reading was Tessa Bailey. And as we all know, I'm a little bit disappointed by some of them recently. And then earlier this year, I read Collide by Bel Cabra. I'm currently reading the sequel, actually, which is very, very good as well. But I've been meaning to kind of actually start branching out and giving other romance authors a go. And the big one that I saw everywhere was Elsie Silver. Now, this is actually the second book in her Chestnut Springs series. This is Heartless. The Chestnut Springs series is basically set in a town in Canada where there is the Eaton family who run this really big ranch. And they are these cowboys. And they kind of have... They're like the most good-looking men in the town. They're kind of minor celebrities in their town. And each book follows basically a member of this family. This book follows the eldest brother, Cade Eaton. This follows him falling in love with a woman called Willa Grant. And the big focus on this is the fact that he is a single dad and that he is 36 or 38 and Willa is 25. And he hires her for 2 months over the summer to be his son's kind of like nanny while he's sorting all the stuff and doing the jobs that he needs to do. This was so much fun. It was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I really like the world of Chestnut Springs. I've said this once and I'll say it again. I fall in love with romance books more if I like the surrounding side characters. if I don't care for the surrounding side characters, it doesn't matter how great your main characters are. I feel like you are not underwritten, but like I think you are more of a fleshed out character if you have convincing, fun, and exciting side characters. And the Chestnut Springs side characters, and specifically the Eaton family, is just so much fun to read about. I love their dynamic. I think everything's written so well. I think the chemistry was really good. Willa is one of my all-time favorite, like new fave romance female leads. I would say we're the same age. And I'm questioning certain life choices. I think the single dad trope is done really well. Sometimes they can do it. I mean, I actually realised I love a good single dad trope. I enjoy The Au Pair Affair by Tessa Bailey. That's a single dad trope. I'm a fan. I think I'm very particular about how you write young people, specifically young children, in your books, because sometimes I'm like, have you ever met a child? Feels like Elsie Silver has met a child. She wrote his son, I think he's called Luke, very well. Really, really good. Yeah, just absolutely fun. The only thing I would say is about 75% of the way through, a trope gets dropped in. You know, they always do like the third act breakup. So like the third act moment is like a trope, which I'm never been the biggest fan of. I do think it's done well in this, but I would kind of say it felt kind of unnecessary. And I was a little bit underwhelmed with the direction of the ending. So that's why it's not a 5-star, it's a 4.5. But everything else was really good. Loved Willa and Cade. Loved their dynamic. Super fun. Big fan. I plan on reading every single thing that Elsie Silver has written. I've actually signed up to her newsletter. Then we have another change of pace. We have Anzu in the Realm of Darkness. This is a middle grade or 9 to 12, depending where you are in the world, graphic novel inspired by, I basically said it was like Coraline meets Spirited Away. It's set during the Obon Festival and it follows Anzu, I don't know why I'm looking at the back of the book for that, follows Anzu, who is still kind of grieving the death of her grandmother, and I've said this once and I'll say it again. I was waiting to read it in this month. One, because the Obon Festival is set in August, so it felt right to read it in August, but also, by the time I received it, my grandma had recently passed away, so I was like, I'm not ready for that. But yeah, she ends up falling into the Shinto underworld and has to escape. And there's a crazy lady who's after her, and it's really, really good. Some amazing illustrations. Like, let me find a good one that's not a spoiler. Hold on. Like, look how good that is. It's really, really well done. The ending made me very emotional. It is amazing. I would highly recommend this. It's just so good, so much fun, a great read. But back to romance, we have A Sign of Affection. I'll say this once and I'll say it again. I fucking love a good 3-in-1 volume. I will always say if there's a 3-in-1 volume option, I will get that rather than the individual volumes, just because it takes me up to about 3 volumes to know whether I like something or not. So I would rather just buy one book than buy multiple. But anyway, A Sign of Affection is a contemporary romance series following a deaf girl and a polyglot who fall in love when she teaches him sign language. It's so good. It's so good. This is really, really good. I really, really like it. I really like the use of sign language, and the author goes into her process and the people that she spoke with and the research she did in translating Japanese sign language over to like the visual form, if that makes sense, where it's just written on a page. I just really enjoyed this. I really like their dynamic. I think it's very interesting. Probably my only critique is I don't love the infantilization of young new adult women. It's not majorly, it's not like really, really badly off-putting, but it's like, you know, it's kind of like, oh, I have a naivety to the world, and I'm like, babes. But overall, really, really good. I love a good jealousy plotline. I don't care what it is. I'm sorry, maybe it says something more about me, but I love a good, like, person who kind of messed the girl around. She meets this new guy who treats her right and he makes a point to prove it. Love it! But no, really, really good. The characterization is great. I love the exploration into what it's like being hard of hearing, what it's like being deaf. I really enjoy kind of a more mature look at romances. I have only read one kind of like adult romance that's a manga. All my other kind of romantic elements in manga have been with the kind of like the YA bracket. The only other one is Sweat and Soap, and Sweat and Soap is a little bit 18 plus. So kind of felt good to read kind of in the middle of that. Really good. We also have kind of the exploration of she's in uni and he's at uni, but he also travels the world, and both of them are kind of finding their place in the world, away from each other and together. I just really, really like it. It's really good. I'm a big fan. I will read the whole series. I have the other 2 3-in-1 volumes. I would highly recommend this if you want I wouldn't say it's like super cutesy. Like, it's not like, oh, if you want this really cute, sweet romance. There's like a little, nothing yet, but there's like from it. And I love it. Then we have Divine Rivals. Yes, my copy does say April of 2023, and I read it in August of 2025. Sometimes when things get very popular, and I feel like I've also said this is like the theme of today's video is, I'll say it once and I'll say it again. When something gets hugely popular, there is something in my brain that just like switches off and is like, wow, we now cannot read this until the hype has died down. And I will kick myself every time. Like, I will do that and then be shocked when I'm like, oh, wow, why did I not read this earlier? It's just a cycle that I will always follow till the day I die. But I did finally get around to reading Divine Rivals. So Divine Rivals follows Iris and Roman. They are two feuding journalists who both want the same position as head columnists at this newspaper. Iris's brother has gone to war. The gods have awoken and are feuding, and they have warring against each other, and Iris's brother has gone to the front lines, and she is struggling. Her mother's struggling with addiction, and she just realizes, I need to look after my family. I'm going to go for this big fancy job. She quits school and goes for this job. Meets Roman, who's a bit of a dick. They start feuding, and she's like, my life is shit. So one day she decides she's going to write a letter, slip it through the wardrobe like she used to do with her brother before. She used to like slip letters to him through his bedroom door. But this time she slips it through this wardrobe and sends off a letter to her brother being like, I miss you, da-da-da-da-da. And then the next day she wakes up and there is a response. And she starts sending letters back and forth to this mysterious writer who, as a reader, we find out it's Roman. But she doesn't know. It's crazy. It's really, really good. It's got a lot more depth to it than I think I originally thought it would. I thought it'd be another like fun, cute YA romance. I've read so many YA romanticises. I know what I'm getting myself into. You actually, low-key, kind of don't. It is very much a war-focused book. The romance in it is very good. I love the romance in it, but you're not losing any of the fantasy elements. It's not just like, oh, here's romance. Oh yeah, there's the background of a bit of fantasy. They are very closely entwined together. The war elements of this book are done so, so well. I just really enjoyed it, and I was kicking myself being like, why the fuck did I not read this earlier? Because it's amazing. The second book does utilize one of my least favorite tropes, and I won't say it for spoiler reasons. So I am a bit intrigued with how that works, because I do hate that trope with the burning passion. And a lot of people I've spoken to have reached out to me weirdly to be like, wow, I hated that book. Thanks. I'm loving it. But they've said, oh, but I loved the second one. So I'm thinking, if I loved the first one, I'm surely going to love the second one more. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Then, another 5-star read. You knew this was coming up. We have Flawless by Elsie Silver. I feel like I'm the minority in this category, where every single TikTok I've seen and person I've spoken to has said, oh, I'm such a massive Kate Eaton fan. Good for you. I'm a Rhett Eaton fan. Flawless is the first book in the Chestnut Spring series, and it follows Summer and Rhett Eaton. Rhett Eaton is the youngest of the Eaton brothers. And Rhett is a bull rider? I think that's just literally just the term. Yeah, he's a bull rider. He's a professional bull rider, which turns out obviously very dangerous. I'm not disputing that. But also kind of underwhelming, because I did Google bull riding and I just wanted to see what it is that we're talking about. And I was like, okay, is that it? Anyway, besides the point, I'm not appreciating this enough. Rhett Eaton has come under fire for some comments that he was caught making. Nothing bad, like in the grand scheme of things, it's quite funny. And he gets hired, basically, a live-in publicist to make sure he doesn't fuck up any more of his public appearances and ruin the image that he's got and lose any sponsors. That woman is Summer, the daughter of his agent, and they have to live together for 3 months over his next bull riding tours, and then once he gets through that, hopefully people have forgotten all of his little scandals. And obviously, in the process, they fall in love, da-da-da-da-da. This is obviously kind of like workplace romance vibes. That he's a cowboy. Right, first of all, because they all have the same name, Heartless, Flawless, Powerless, da-da-da-da-da, I am, from now, going to just say the couple and their stories. I preferred Willa from Cade and Willa's story. I love Summer. I think Summer's a great character, but Willa's just got some to her, which I love. But I am more of a Rhett fan than a Cade fan, da-da-da-da-da. But when I want to say what this book does so well, and is kind of what I need from Tessa Bailey again, is the just finite focus that we have on our main characters. We're discussing Rhett and the fact that his family don't support his bull riding career, and the fact that he's getting older, he's hurting more, he's aching more, he knows that he's only got a finite amount of time left in in this job before he's going to have to be looking elsewhere, or his body will just give out. And then you have someone, I don't want to say too much about her stuff because that is spoilers in this book, but she has a very, very complicated family situation that requires a lot of nuance, it requires a lot of depth, it requires a lot of heart. I would check trigger warnings. But we are given so much time and so much grace with these characters that you fall in love with them as individuals. And this is what I have been wanting from Tessa, is that I don't want to feel that it's just like, hello, we are male and female love interest. We aren't so sure on each other. We hook up, we get together at the end. I want to feel that it really is an undeniable connection between these two, but I like them as individuals first and foremost. And it makes sense that they're together. Not like, oh, it makes sense they're together because they're together at the end of this book. Like, I want it to be like, yeah, you can't be with anyone other than this person. I want to see them grow up, grow as individuals and together. And I just really think this is a textbook amazing. Like, if somebody was to say to me, I really want to get into romance novels, but I don't really want, like, I just want to read something that's got some great character work as well, that's not just like sexy and after sexy, right? I would recommend this book. I would highly recommend this book. Yes, it has got all the trappings of a classic romance novel. My friend Vic and I were literally saying that if a man genuinely said half the shit that these men say to their girlfriends in this book, I'd be like, get the fuck out. But you get some leniencies because it's a romance novel. Don't tell me how you're gonna shut me up. Gross. Hate it. Not for me. But the actual character writing outside of the classic romance trappings is so good. So good. And I went into it going, oh, fun little cowboy romance. I've not read any. And I loved it. And I was thinking, fucking hell, like, people are not lying. So yes, this is my favourite of the two I've read so far. And then finally, the last book and my favourite book of the month. Very weird to read a book with the word winter in it when it is, I was reading it in the heat of summer, but this is A Winter's Promise by Christelle Debeau. This is a YA fantasy series translated from French to English. It is a completed series. I think the 4th book came out in hardback last year, so we are due the paperback very soon. A Winter's Promise is set in this very interesting world where basically, I think it was a little bit similar to our world, but the world kind of blew up and now the world is made up of multiple different floating islands. The survivors of that original kind of eruption known as the Rupture all ended up going to different islands, creating their own descendants, and now we have all these leagues of different families, and certain families have certain magical powers, and it's really fun. And we follow Ophelia, who has 2 powers. She lives on Anima, which is an island which focuses on animating objects and working with objects, and she has 2 powers. One, she can get the history of an object through touch alone. So she can learn things about owners of this object and the object itself. And she can also travel through mirrors. Hence why this series is called the Mirror Visitor series. And she gets basically betrothed to a man from another arc, at the behest of her family because she's turned down every other person. And she is sent off to the arc called the Pole Arc, which is this very, just consistently, it's winter every single day. It feels like it's Svalbard. That's the only way I can explain. And it's there that she meets Thorn, who is got a mysterious past. He's rich. You kind of don't really know how he's connected to the like family ancestor who is basically the person from the Rupture who rules over everything. He's very mysterious, dark and brooding. Throws me off every time because he is written as like a very stereotypical like big, tall, hulking figure with dark, long hair, and he's like some skinny blonde guy. Throws me off every time. That's the one thing I will say. But he has a very mysterious past, and she is brought there under weird secretive pretenses. Nobody really knows what's going on, and she has to navigate this brand new arc with her powers and secrets and all fun stuff. Probably the first book that I've given 5 stars where it's incredibly slow and kind of nothing happens, because that on paper is like the worst book you could ever give me. But the world is so interesting. The world building is amazing. The characters are so interesting that I was like, wow, I've read 300 pages of not much really happening, but I'm intrigued. I'm enthralled. Once you get to about page 300, 350, all these little nuances and little things that have been dotted in through the book all start connecting and making sense. And I'm like, so good. And yes, so I finished this. It was absolutely incredible. The romance in this, because there is a romance, is a very complicated, slow burn romance, even though they're betrothed. It's very complicated, but I really have been enjoying it. it was kind of one of those fantasy books where I was like, oh wow, I forgot how much I love reading fantasy. I forgot how much I just want to curl up with a good fantasy book with a lot of world building, interesting characters, an intriguing plot. Like, I've missed that. And it felt like I was a kid again, finding out about reading. That's how much I loved it. There we go! That is everything that I read in August. This is actually the most books I've read in 1 month this year. I mean, that used to be an average amount of books that I read in a month. Jeez. But yeah, the most amount of books I've read in this month, which is amazing. September, my TBR for September is actually already out. We are kind of going back to those Burr month focuses, fantasy, darker storylines, and less kind of summery romances, because I'm still in my romance era. I just finished Wuthering Heights. That's a way to get into September. And I am currently reading Northern Lights by Philip Pullman and Spiral by Bal Cabra. And my next book is Blood Over Bright Haven, which should be very, very good. But yes, please like and subscribe and all of that fun stuff. And thank you so much for watching.